You'll never find a more wretched show of fun and villainy. We should be cautious.
This amount of time on the internet.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you had to use AOL because it was like the first browser,
Yeah.
America Online.
And you're just like, man, I really want to watch a video of somebody drinking a lot of Sprite and struggling with it. Oh, no, I got just a thing. Hold on. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chatter Squadron Fun and Villainy. My name is Tyler Bucks. Sat here with Mike Calhoun, and Thrawn Vader is between us because we are covering Thrawn Alliances today.
Today's the day.
Mike Calhoun, you are more recently acquainted with this book.
Yes.
I read it closer to when it came out, and we're going to be talking about that today. So that is your spoiler warning. So if you haven't read Thrawn Alliances and you're listening to this right now,
Right.
just cut it off.
Unless you're not planning on reading it at all and you'd like a recap plus opinions from two of your favorite dudes.
Yeah,
Favorite.
favorites. That's us. Actually, you know what? Before we jump into that, I have a little anecdote to tell you, Calhoun, and the listener.
Okay,
On my way to work today, I'm driving, as I do.
sure.
And this car is coming the opposite way, and they're flashing their lights at me.
Oh,
You know what I
goodness.
mean? Like there's a cop coming or a deer or whatever.
Goodness,
And then
I
I-
hope someone's not breaking the law.
I kind of turn the corner, and there's this dog running through the middle of the street. So luckily, it wasn't too busy.
You made a motion with your hands going in a circle. Was it running in a circle?
No, it was just like as the street, running down the street, just kind of going in the middle of the road to the side, whatever. And this isn't like a residential-ish area. It's not like a cul-de-sac or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like a road. And so I stop the car. I open the door, and he comes right up to me, and I just grab him. Heft him in, and he's one of these curly dogs. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They're usually about the size of like a loaf of bread.
Oh,
But
okay.
This guy is like the size of like a really big loaf of bread.
How big? How many loaves? How many pounds of of a loaf of bread? Like
How many
55-pound loaf?
Oh no, like 25
Okay.
pounds or so. But
Decent loaf of bread, though.
that's a hefty loaf of bread.
Yeah.
But no, so I lift him in, and he's soaking wet, like I said, like any loaf of bread is. And because he has all the curly hair and everything,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he smells so bad.
I bet.
And
a disgusting
immediately I was like, oh my gosh, what do I like? I stopped, picked him up, put him in my car, and got back into my car in such a quick motion that I just immediately then went, now what do I do? I have just now made
You
this
hadn't
my
given-
responsibility.
You haven't given yourself enough time to come up with a plan after that.
I wake up like 30 minutes into work.
You kinda-
You know what I
yes.
mean?
Yeah. as
So
well.
I'm like, okay, I got this really wet dog in my car now. He's stepping on my lunch and everything. So I drive down the road, like more towards work, and I go around this circle, this traffic circle, and I stop at a house. And this dog's like going back and forth, like on my lap and stuff. And so I call my brother because I work with my brother, and I'm like, hey, Brandon,
Funny
you
story.
can probably hear that there's a dog in my car currently because
It flew in like a bee.
he was honestly anxious, my brother,
Your
but also
brother
the dog, because he's like panting and kind of crying a little bit. So it's rough.
Sure.
And I'm
rough.
rough, and I'm considering like, what do I do now? But I just told my brother I'm going to be late. I have a dog now. It's pretty crazy. Life moves fast. Okay. So I have this dog, and I'm like, should I just take it to the police department? It's really close by, but I don't want to just put it all through a system and everything because he doesn't have a collar.
Oh no.
That's the big
So
thing.
they're just gonna be like, yeah, we'll call the closest pound.
Exactly. And how dirty he was and what he was made me think like, man, this dog's been out for so long, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to back out and kind of drive around a little bit, like the area, just to see maybe someone's out looking for the dog.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I back out and I drive, and I'm really focused on this dog. So I'm kind of going slow, and I see someone walking their dog going around their traffic circle, and I'm like, oh, I'll go talk to that guy, because it'll be like, oh, that's Duke's dog. Duke sounds like a dog's name. Anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That was a weird one.
Duke owned by Duke. That's Duke.
That's Duke. He owns himself. Let him be.
Let him go, sir.
So many people.
Unhand Duke. Is he in the car with you, sir? Duke, escape. Run, Duke.
And Duke is like, I know, this keeps happening.
Dude,
talking dog.
This is why you keep getting kidnapped, Duke. You're jumping into strangers' cars and acting friendly.
And you're a dog.
And you're adorable, clearly. You loaf of bread.
So I pull up beside this guy, and as I'm getting closer, I realize that his dog looks exactly like the dog I have that's in my car.
Oh, I see.
Twist, it's the same dog.
What? Wait a minute, hang on.
No. So I pull up, I roll down the window, I get his attention, and then he gives me a
What'd
look.
you say? Go, hey, dog guy.
Hey, guy who owns Duke. And I named him Duke. But no, he gives me a look of like, oh man. And it's his dog.
Oh wow!
So he was out looking for his dog with his other dog. They weren't the same dog. I'm sorry for everybody.
It was just a good sniffer.
Yes, exactly. But no, so I pull in, and apparently he just slipped out of his collar and everything, and they went on their merry. They went on their merry way, and then
How did that dog get so dirty and so smelly so quickly?
The other dog was similarly dirty and smelly. I think it's just because it was rainy this morning, and the fact that it even got out and got as far as it did just soaked up all this moisture.
Yeah.
So I'm like covered in water.
Did this guy like not offer you a napkin?
I don't know if he had napkins with him.
Was
he's like, okay, the dog's gone. Let me think. I need to grab the other dog because they're connected. They're twins. They have that twin magic.
Yeah, they've got that weird twin connection.
And I just need to go. I need to go find them right now. Wait a second. Napkins. What if the guy who finds them gets a little wet? That good thinking Duke. His name's Duke too.
His name's Duke as well.
So I just drive to work. I'm only like 7 minutes late too. Hey-o.
Nice.
Look at that. And I got fired. No.
What a shame.
Hey, looking up. No, I didn't. But I get in, and I'm getting my coffee and everything, and somebody comes into the kitchen, and it's not someone that I converse with too often. We made some video things together there, and I was just like, John, smell me. Do I smell like wet dog? And he's like, do you have a dog? I'm like, no. And then he's like, okay. So he does. He comes and smells me. He's like, your jacket smells a little bit like moisture. I'm like, okay.
That's all right.
I can handle moisture.
Right.
But no, so that was my good deed for the day. So hopefully Duke is listening right now. And if you ever want to come on, man, just give us a ring.
Yeah, and we'll bring you on the show apparently. But yeah, come on, Duke.
Mike's on board too.
You can have my chair.
Oh, Duke, do you hear that? He's getting excited. His tail's wagging.
You can see him.
I have a twin symbiotic relationship with him now
as
too.
well.
Yeah. He licked my face. That transfers my bacteria.
It's very much like zombies.
Did you save any animals recently?
Only the ones that I've donated money to in sanctuaries.
I thought you were going to say that you donated.
Oh yeah, only the ones that I've given away.
He often donates animals.
I've stolen them from good homes and then
donated them to better ones.
Yeah, to even better homes.
What, do you want to live in a good home, or do you want to live in a great one? Am I right?
That's what I say. I feel
and
like
they jump right in.
I'm doing the Lord's work. They say, they talk to me.
Really?
The dogs do. I mean, they have to be. You have to be pretty rich to have a talking dog. So when I'm stealing these talking dogs from these homes, these good homes,
yeah, of course,
and giving them to better homes,
of course,
it's just for the betterment of the talking dog.
You're like
they say thank you. They say, "Wow, you're incredibly good looking," and I say, "I'm impressed that you're able to deduce that from the back seat because they have to stay in the back because they're disgusting mutts."
Of course,
but
you're like the Robin Hood of talking dogs.
I'm like the Robin Hood of talking dogs. Oh, take from the rich and give to the richer.
more rich. Anyway, you know Robin Hood. That's the story, right?
Oh my god.
But no. So now is your spoiler warning.
Oh yeah, if that wasn't enough of a spoiler warning. By the way, we're talking about Thrawn Alliances.
Dog alliances, me and Duke.
What is happening? Okay, is that going to be the running joke for the rest of this? You know why we're talking about these silly stories rather than this book? Because they're more entertaining.
Oof. Yeah. First thoughts.
That's the first shot across the bow.
I feel like I should just start with my rating, what I would give it.
Give it a
And
rating.
so people understand where we're going.
Give it a rating.
I give it a 5.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's rough.
I give it a 5 in the sense that I like things that are 5s. You know what I mean? I like there are some great moments, and I'll talk about that in a way. But the negative, just almost slog of a story that it felt at times. Every positive moment was kind of getting pulled down and pulled down and pulled down till the end, which we'll talk about, was just kind of a
It was like
if the end,
blowing up a balloon halfway and then letting it go.
Right.
It was like that's supposed to be exciting.
if the end brought so much more together, it might have been a 6.5 for me or whatever, but just because it just felt like, and this is the end of the story. It just didn't pull it together for me. How about you? Do you know what you might rate it?
Oh, man, I never thought about a numerical rating until you said that.
What
and
about-
now that you said a 5.
What about an A, B, C, D, F?
Oh, it's a D.
Ooh.
It's maybe a C minus.
Yeah.
But man, I had trouble just getting into this. I would get into it for a while.
Yeah.
At the first act, I liked a lot.
Me too.
I liked the first act, even though I accepted that it wasn't going to be written the same way as Thrawn.
Right.
I noticed that, and I was disappointed by that.
And we're huge fans of Thrawn.
Huge.
The first canon book that Timothy Zahn did several years ago. Massive fans of that book.
Yeah.
Orinda. I mean, it was just
Orinda Price is seriously one of my favorite characters now, in the top 50. and Thrawn obviously is
nowhere to be seen in this book. Orinda Price.
not at all in Thrawn Alliances.
Not many characters carried over. I mean, Orinda Price was such a big part of the first Thrawn book, and so was Edson Vanto.
Yep.
And we know why they're probably not in this book, but they were sorely missed, I would say.
Extremely.
Extremely missed.
We know that Orinda Price is in Rebels. And we know that this book takes place between season 3 and 4 of Rebels. So why don't we see more Orinda Price?
I mean, that would they brought in a lot more, I guess, new Imperial people, Imperial characters in
They
this.
did, but I lost their names in the shuffle almost immediately.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Every time they brought up, oh, what's so-and-so doing for this, siege of the ship or whatever,
Yes.
I'm like, who?
Keemond and there's like Commander Keemond,
Yeah,
is
Keemond.
one of the only memorable names. His like Thrawn's second in command lady, she was almost completely forgettable.
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh. She had so few moments in which she was on the same page as Thrawn.
Yeah.
That it was just like you're slowing me down, man. You are slowing me down. I felt like that a lot with the Vader Thrawn scenes. I felt like we were rehashing the same conversation.
Oh, for sure.
And that was what made that part so slow. And I think off mic, you and I already agreed that the most interesting part of this book is the Clone Wars era events.
For sure.
Even though I think the resolution of that story is like a whimper.
See, I actually like the resolution of
Did
that
you?
story. So not necessarily the resolution of it, because we're not going to carry on with that story. So basically, and we're kind of jumping around. We're going to dive, kind of more linear with our thoughts because we're kind of jumping back and forth. But the end of the book with the Clone Wars story, the whole thing is that they cause so much turmoil on this planet.
Yeah.
And
Mokivja.
now they have to bear that with them. You know what I mean? Now they have to go, oh my gosh, we did defeat the CIS here, but we just caused so much problems for everybody else.
We being Anakin.
Right. Anakin, Padme reluctantly, and Thrawn also kind of reluctantly.
Because they wouldn't stand up to Anakin's ridiculous decision.
And we can try and find if there's Clone Wars episodes after that to see if they changed as characters. But that's what I'm saying is we don't carry that because I don't think they're going to take that part of the story anywhere else.
No.
So now it's just they learned a lesson and then they just learned that lesson and we put it in a box and put it away.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That lesson didn't really push too much into the main story that I feel is going to continue.
We didn't see a direct reflection of those actions end up affecting the future characters.
Except for the guy that was helping Padme. What was his name again?
Lebjow.
Yes,
and
Lebjow.
Then he was Nodlia later.
Yeah. Him leaving with the heroes was kind of sobering.
Well, he was our perspective. He was without his perspective, it would have been less interesting.
Yeah.
Even less interesting. And we don't even know what happens to his friends. His friends.
Right.
Who for the part. Okay, so let's give a brief overview.
That's what I think. I knew we were going to just kind of go off and be like,
but there's not a lot of people discussing. Not a lot of people probably keeping up.
It's very much a lost potential type thing, and that kind of scatters your thoughts.
Sure.
But yeah, so more chronological, like you were saying.
Okay, so the very basics of the book. It takes place in 2 timelines, technically 3 timelines. Padme's got a story.
Yeah.
And hers takes place slightly in the future of Thrawn and Anakin's story. And but it's all Clone Wars era. And then the other timeline is Thrawn and Vader post first book.
Being basically stuck together
on a mission, going back to what we as a reader discover is the same locations. Black Spire. Which is cool. We got to hear and read about the place that we're going to go visit sometime in the near future, or in the future.
And it's that Black Spire place sounded like it was on the edge of the galaxy, so that's kind of cool.
Yes. So we got to hear and see a lot from Black Spire, and in the first act, which I liked the most.
Yeah, me too.
Both teams, young and old, actually had some really interesting stuff because they were in the same location, so the parts of the story was taking place at the same location, so it wasn't so much of a jump going back and forth. The level of tension felt the most similar in the first act.
Yep. Oh, for sure, yeah.
It really just went back and forth. When they switched back and forth between the timelines in the second and third acts, it felt like I don't even know what pace this is written at anymore. So they're on a mission to find a disturbance in the Force that the Emperor is feeling in the more recent timeline with Vader, and then in the old timeline, Padme goes somewhere because her handmaiden goes missing, and she's investigating it, and then she goes missing, so Anakin investigates her,
of course,
and he just runs into Thrawn, who is on a mission, but we don't know this. He acts as a a guide in the outer rim area because he's familiar with it, but he's on a mission for the Chiss Ascendancy the whole time, which we end up finding out in the third act in a very nonchalant scene.
Yep.
I was like, I almost forgot why he was here, and this is how they show up.
Because it didn't feel like Thrawn had something else he was working on. It almost made you during the Clone Wars period go, why is Thrawn going along with this?
Why does he care?
Right.
Besides the fact that they were going to two similar locations and they both were attacked. I mean, that's the key moment in the first act when they're attacked together and they have to like show their skills, and then Thrawn notices that he's a Jedi and he's just like, I see your battle robes, and we get to see like fun little fan service
Why
things.
Why are you looking at me so much, Thrawn?
General. I like when he called him General.
Yeah.
I forget what I was going to say about the first act. Save me here.
I'm going to put it this way. My favorite part of the book was Padme.
Me too. Well, I can't say that for sure, but I did enjoy all of her parts up until the obvious thing that we agree on, which you'll get to. But tell me what you like about Padme.
Padme's beginning of this book, when she goes off on her own to find her handmaiden, and she's basically just lying to people and playing a different character in order to get information on her.
I liked that. I could imagine the way, like, I can imagine her pulling a voice.
I can imagine I listened to the audiobook, but I can imagine everything she did and, how she probably looked at the time. And then I liked her befriending people, also still lying. I liked her in like the escape pod thing, about to drown. Like,
that was a really thrilling. I just because I'm Star Wars illiterate, some of the terminology she was using in the cockpit and how she was like, how he plot shielded her from drowning. I was like losing it a little bit, but then I was like, okay, I understand how this is working.
Right.
But it was just like a spacecraft in the water, but it's okay. I don't know.
But I just like the whole thing of her, befriending people, then getting into the base, then
following the clues.
Doing her thing in the base, knowing who this other count is. Just all, like, everything that she did was just pretty much spot on, except for a couple things.
I have a theory why we feel that those parts were more interesting and just were better, because we weren't hindered by Vader just disagreeing with every Sherlock Holmesy kind of observation Thrawn had. Because instead of Eli Vanto's curiosity lens as a reader, we're seeing Thrawn's genius through the lens of a stubborn killing machine, which is fine, because I enjoyed seeing and reading what it's like to be in the mind of Vader, but Vader doesn't have as much patience as
this book gives him. That's the main issue that I have brought up when I'm talking about this book, is the amount of times Thrawn, in the more current timeline we follow, the amount of times Thrawn like just messes with Vader, like, tricks him or appearing to sound condescending, whether on purpose or not, or denying orders or whatever. The amount of times he did that, it just, each time it happened, it was like Vader would not let that happen. Because we've seen Vader kill people for no reason, seemingly. Just because he can.
Failing him. Or blocking him from being able to achieve something.
And you've brought up before that, it might cause Vader such a big headache with Palpatine.
The Emperor,
Right.
Would value Thrawn. He values Thrawn a certain amount.
But I don't think they built that enough. I don't think.
The epilogue, if you skip the epilogue.
Yeah. Oh man, if you skip the epilogue,
or if you skip the prologue, excuse me. If you skip the prologue, like, come on, Tim. There was a tweet a few weeks ago. I said, if you could offer one of your favorite authors one piece of advice, what would it be? And I said, Timothy Zahn. The prologue and epilogue are not first and last chapters.
Yes, they're very, very necessary in this book to read those.
And if you hadn't read them, you there would be even less of a Vader Emperor Thrawn dynamic than you would otherwise.
You know what would have served this book very well? Number one, more of a conclusion and tie-in from the timelines. The end kind of to just both of them converge together and you go, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And also at least one scene where Vader goes to the hologram of the Emperor and is like, hey, I can't flip and do this anymore.
Right.
And the Emperor to put him in his place in some type of way, some type of evil way. Vader, you have to do this. And Vader comes back and he acts exactly how he did before, but he's only doing that to pretend like he's tough.
Yeah.
Because he just got told off.
Yeah.
We
know. Yeah.
But right now, especially if you don't read the prologue, you're just like, why is Vader doing this? Why is he letting Thrawn get away with this? Because it's not like he did anything super crazy, but Thrawn led the charge, and we all know Vader is the one who's like, heck no.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's doing this. Yeah. I mean, we see that in every other thing. That might be my biggest gripe with the whole book. Is like
we've listed
didn't feel like him.
We've listed some gripes, so I'm going to say some positive things before we get to think. We haven't even talked about Grisks yet. And we're pretty far into this review. What was I going to say? Something positive. I loved the TIE Defenders. I love the TIE Defender project, and that there's this. I actually thought that this whole book was going to be more about Thrawn defending his projects in the face of the Death Star creation.
Yeah.
And everyone else supporting the Death Star project. And I love TIE Defenders. I felt like those were the more interesting battle chapters.
Yeah.
Were the piloting of those particular battles. And I liked Padme's stuff, obviously, in the first act. Later, when she was stuck in the bottom of a boat, not so much.
Yeah.
I liked Leb Zhao. I liked all those characters. I'm sad that Leb Zhao was the only one that quote unquote survived at the end. A friggin' volcano explosion happens, and they're like, well, at least it's just the cropland. I was like, this is like a Disney film. Right. It's like everyone got shot out of the air, but they all have parachutes.
We all just have walkie-talkies, not guns.
What's another positive thing I took from this?
So a positive thing for me is the mind of a Force user. We see it with Anakin. We see it with Vader. That was so cool to me because when it comes to Force abilities and just being a Jedi in general, I just want to know what it's like. I want to know how that feels and what it would be like to have a lightsaber and how that feels and how it feels to feel the Force moving and just all that type of stuff. Like when Vader even got a little spooked by sensing the Force somewhere nearby, that type of stuff is great, but especially the double vision where Vader / Anakin could sense what was going to happen next. And that's always been something big for me with Star Wars is explaining to people, well, they're able to block these lasers, being shot at them because they sense where it's going to go and how to do it. They even can explain away the super fast choreography of the prequels. They're sensing the Force is guiding them as to what to do next. And
at one point, there was a description of Anakin just not being able to pay attention to what his friends were doing or whether they were even safe because he was just like in Force mode.
Yep.
He had to survive. He had like he had like a whole regiment of B-1 battle droids on him. So he's just like you could visualize it very well. That was a very well written part
because it's not even. I would say not even necessarily visualizing it. It's you can watch the movies now and understand, like even the Clone Wars, you can watch them being surrounded by people and then getting shot at by a bunch of different directions and see them move and go, so that's what's going on in their head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why Ahsoka is able to block this and jump off of this person and then cut through that guy and block, because in her head, she's seeing what's going to happen next. And, he was seeing it even in the most negative senses of blaster bolt blasting my side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting stabbed, or he would say this is happening to me, and then he would react to that in order to stop it.
Yeah.
That's just that's so cool to me.
And then you could imagine like the difficulty getting worse when he would like memorize and list a bunch, like at face, at head, at chest, at torso, at legs, at face, at head, and then he would like, you can imagine like him taking a deep breath and then going into this motion, and it was just like that was an interesting perspective, and I liked that we were seeing those inner workings. It's just like the way Thrawn observes a door. It's just like, well, we're gonna learn something about this damn door.
Yeah, for real.
I was looking for another thing that I really enjoyed were the references, the fan service references, like the Ahsoka reference. Very funny story on the Ahsoka reference. Anakin is referencing a battle tactic. That has a name, a Marg Sable.
Okay.
A Marg Sable, and coincidentally, the Marg Sable was used first by Thrawn in Heir to the Empire.
Oh, yeah?
It's even a phrase coined by Timothy Zahn and then used by Dave Filoni, and he gave Ahsoka the credit in canon.
Wow.
So then, in this book, it comes full circle where Anakin suggests a Marg Sable and then explains that to Thrawn. And Thrawn is like thrilled by this brilliant battle tactic.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a poetic moment.
Yeah.
But without the context, it was a little clunky when it was put in. He was like, I'll be a one-man Marg Sable. And I was like, I don't know what that is, man.
Right.
And then they explained it. I was like, oh, I like that. That's cool. And then when I looked it up later, it was even cooler.
Right.
So I'm glad that was a part of it. I'm glad that there was probably a lot more that I did not notice. For sure. I have precognition, by the way.
Oh.
That's why I
book
noticed.
Falling, my hand grabbing the book, still talking while catching book.
Speaking of precognition, let's talk about these children.
Skywalkers.
Crazy addition.
Hey, do you think that
I know what you're going to say.
The rise of Skywalker is the rise of children?
Some people say that, and
I do
agree.
not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Would it be cool if that's what they were talking about? And I'll explain what Skywalkers is. Only if we saw Chiss throughout this trilogy.
Absolutely.
It would be a weird thing to just put them in and be like, who are these blue, red-eyed people that this movie's named after?
The only way it could have happened is if there was a Chiss main character in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
The only way.
So basically what it was is in the Chiss ascendancy, young Force users from
which
Chiss,
are rare to begin with.
Exactly. Are able to do this double vision type thing of understanding where they need to go next, and thus they would map out the stars in order for the Chiss to travel to different planets.
He's talking about on a starship.
Right, and they were basically like sitting there. I can't think of the person in Star Trek who would guide them around, but basically sit there and say, okay, we need to go this much to this side and this much to that side. And in Chiss, translated into basic or English, that's known as Skywalkers. So I think that works. I honestly think.
Coincidentally enough, we call them Skywalkers. That's Chekhov. Chekhov.
Oh, yes,
navigator.
Chekhov.
Pavel Androvich Chekhov.
So that's going on in the
Chiss ascendancy.
But more current timeline is basically Thrawn leads this whole mission to get these Chiss children, which are the Force disturbance that the Emperor felt and Vader feels. And then in order for them to travel like towards the end of the book, Thrawn explains to Vader how to do this, how to map out the star field or whatever using the Force, and then he chuckles to himself, and Vader, of course, is like, why are you laughing or whatever? And he's like, you would do it better. And you already did it, but go for it again.
Tell me the line. I don't know.
Coincidentally enough, they were known as Skywalkers.
Coincidentally enough, They were known as Skywalkers. Well, he
once
actually
again-
says that when he's like, you can understand. You can understand my reaction upon learning your name. Or no, he doesn't say your name because Skywalker is Vader adamantly throughout this book is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was informed by the Emperor of all of this.
We never went to the same place together. You went here alone with somebody else.
Of course.
And that's what drove me nuts.
Since it can't be comical because it's friggin' Vader.
Right.
It's not allowed to be comical, so it has to be dead serious. But if you do that every other chapter,
Yeah.
they run into this hurdle every other chapter where it's just him taunting him. When I was here with Anakin Skywalker, we did this, and he's like,
We did not do anything.
We didn't do anything.
You. And it just made me go like at a certain point of like, because there's a comic panel of somebody saying that, this is Anakin Skywalker as Darth Vader, and they're in a ship, and then the next slide is everybody being thrown out of the ship, like through the windshield, basically. The stormtroopers and the person who said it and everybody. And it's like, it would kind of be like that.
Yeah.
You would, if anyone were to say like, yeah, when we did this, right, Anakin, I feel like Vader would just kill them immediately.
Yeah,
And
he would
not
like
because
within their armor crush their skull.
Right.
And
not
just drop them.
because he wants to protect his identity, not because the Emperor told him not to do that,
Yeah.
but him being Vader, him being Anakin, reacting to something like that. I feel like, hey, Anakin, he would just immediately go and kill them because that's just what he does.
Yeah.
Anakin, Vader just is like, I'm going to do this and you can't stop me. So I don't think that, once again, going back to the whole Vader not being Vader as I know him to be.
Fun fan service connection. Padme in the third act reflecting and comparing Anakin's behavior, his recklessness with the slaughter of the Sand People, which he describes she didn't actually get to see. And then it actually comes up in Anakin's mind too. He's just like, he was cutting down a bunch of droids and he was just pissed. He's just furious. And he's like, it was just a very vivid image, him slashing the Sand People. So that was a nice connection. I wanted to see more of that. I wanted to see more rage connections. I mean, it'd be cool if like, at the end of a chapter, Anakin swells up with some sort of rage for whatever reason, or panic because of Padme. There's plenty of that. And then it immediately switches to Vader's perspective in the next like section or chapter, and he's furious about something. I think that would be a good transition. We didn't have that a lot. We kind of had some. It felt like it was two books written at two different times and then put together.
Well, I think they could have learned something from how Solo Last Shot was written. Did you also read Last Shot?
I did. I didn't enjoy it very much.
I enjoyed it a lot, actually. Okay. I liked it a lot, and I liked how it flowed because it flowed in a very way of, hey, this is what, these two stories do connect. You are uncovering the story in both timelines, and now we are letting you know this is the past, this is the present. They would do that very strictly. This is the past, this is the present. This is the same story, basically, but told in two different timelines, and they're going to interweave and intersect at some point.
Right.
But no, I understand what you mean. It was kind of a clunky way for them to like, here's this, and then now we're moving to something completely different.
Yeah, But since they were in the same locations, since it wasn't a smooth transition, sometimes I would get
confused.
Lost. I would get lost in the locations there. I was like trying to figure out the geography, and since Thrawn is Thrawn, but at least there's Anakin and Vader. So I pick up in the middle of a chapter and I know where I am.
Right.
I was hoping. I wanted to know where I was. It was difficult at times. What was I going to say about?
I had a quick thing though. How do you feel about Vader having a second suit?
Oh, I loved that.
Did you?
It seemed like an obvious idea. Like I imagine him having like a half dozen suits.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I didn't like it.
you didn't.
No. It was just weird. In the book, Vader has another suit, and
It's used frequently in the book.
he does a fake suit maneuver in a way where the suit's walking through and people are shooting it and everything, and then it's like, but it's not him. He's actually doing this, and yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like it. I'm gonna put it out there in a crappy way. It just didn't feel Star Wars to me.
Really?
Yes.
The walking the body thing?
Yeah.
Because Anakin did it in the first act, and it was I knew he was coming back. I knew he was going to do it again.
Yeah.
I knew it. I didn't like the walking the body thing. It felt like blood bending from Avatar.
For real.
And I was like...
because when we were talking about visualizing things, like in this book, when I visualized Anakin walking a dead body to make it seem like he was alive, I was like, I'm visualizing this and it's not working. It's like in my head, this guy still looks pretty dead.
Yes, same.
Oh, hey, Greg. How's it going? Oh, hey, guys.
I mean, also, he's not... The Force, he was just trying to, like, move his limbs in a convincing way, and was, like... But the guy's probably, like slack-jawed, and his eyes are, like, hanging... I don't know. I also had difficulty imagining it. And then when he, like, just... threw him on top of his ship, and then he just flew around with this guy flopped on top of it because it was a single person ship.
Yeah.
That was a silly scene for me.
I know.
It's very strange.
I honestly think, because that was after the bar fight.
Yeah.
I honestly think that's when the book started to go down for me. It was the dead guy
the third
walking.
chapter, man.
I think that's when it started to move into that silliness that, like,
I mean, I give it a
there
D.
was tension. You know what I mean?
There was,
Before
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
and
there
then now he's walking a dead guy and trying to make it seem like he's alive. And I'm like...
The only other tense scene that I remember enjoying reading was the fight in the bar with the first encounter of those cloud bugs that turned into cement, and that was the reason for him using the suit the second time, because it was a tactic, so that was a cool callback. But I think that was a cool scene, but there's so few memorable I love this scene,
right.
and this is why I love this. It's just pieces. We just like pieces of it.
Because I believe that bar was on Batu, and I believe that...
God, we got to talk about Grisks.
That bar, I say we end with the Grisks,
okay,
because... Cool. But I think that bar is supposed to be Oga's Cantina eventually. I think that's the connection there. And
exactly.
when we talked about Galaxy's Edge with Ross from Beyond the Outer Rim at Celebration, which you can listen to that interview on our page. We talked about it like that, of like Thrawn and Vader is carved under the like bar with a heart around it.
Vader was here.
That is cool. They were there, and we'll be able to see it. And same thing with them describing Batu. I
hope I don't get stabbed with a ceremonial knife in that bar.
I hope I don't get poisoned by something in that bar, and then I come to and I see you jumping around and saving my skin. That would be bad.
That would be bad.
Yeah.
Just being poisoned in general.
Or stabbed.
It's
pretty bad. Do you want to talk about Grisks?
Let's talk about these Grisks. So
sounds like something from Mass Effect.
Yeah, and they kind of look like, well, the visualizations that they're big and hulking, they kind of reminded me of some sort of creature from Mass Effect. Anyway, the Grisks are they actually exist in both timelines, according to Thrawn. Their threat exists in both timelines, but they're mostly the secret villain of the later timeline with Vader and Thrawn trying to figure out what's going on with this disturbance. The disturbance is the Grisks have taken these Chiss children because they want to use their precognition to navigate the unknown regions. They don't want the Chiss to have them.
Yeah, duh.
And Thrawn makes a very Sherlockian, very Holmesian connection that kind of comes out of nowhere, where he says, "Oh, the way the Grisks work is that they take the most valuable asset you have to provide and hold it against you, or they like hold it hostage, like and that's what he suspects they were going to do in the Clone Wars era with this invulnerable droid technology.
Right.
They're gonna like reveal it to them and then take it away and be like, "Ooh, now I have the Separatists on my side because otherwise they won't get this tech."
Right.
Anyway, the Grisks, some people are comparing to the Yuuzhan Vong, this unknown threat. They're we don't know how strong they are.
Right.
They're in the outer regions. Nobody really knows how many there are. The Chiss have been at war with them. Thrawn hints at a civil war within the Chiss. That's scary. Wish the book was about that instead.
Right.
Oh, man. What if the prologue and epilogue was Eli Vanto? That would have been better.
Yeah.
That would have been better.
Yeah.
I would have, like, just little peeks and be like, "Oh, no, what's going on?" And then the book's about a different thing. And then it leads all the way. And then we bring it back. And the Chiss ascendancy are here. I don't know. I'm rewriting it.
But no, I honestly think a little bit of Eli, a little bit of Arinda Price would have been great.
Welcome.
If Arinda was also on that ship in the current timeline, being a thorn in both Vader and Thrawn's side.
Yeah.
Imagine that being this thing that they continually are butting heads, and then at a time when it would be Vader lashing out against Thrawn, or Thrawn, telling everybody that this is Anakin, Arinda is just busts through and is annoying as all get out, and both of them kind of look at her and they're like, okay, this isn't that bad.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be like another unifying point for them.
Or she's the one tasked by
With-
the Emperor to keep them not
That'd be wild.
against each
or
other.
Grand Moff Tarkin, he's just like, "Keep an eye on them. I will be having you be aboard the ship."
Right.
It'd be nuts.
And it's brought out later that Arinda has been tasked not only by the Emperor himself, but also Grand Moff Tarkin, which would make everybody upset, especially Thrawn.
yes,
Like,
absolutely.
oh my gosh, Tarkin.
Yeah, can't get away from him.
But that's what I mean. It didn't feel like the past book really pushed this book forward. It felt like the past book happened, now this book happened, and now what? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to say some more about these Grisks.
Of
So
course.
here's a moment that I didn't feel like people acted in character. So this whole time, at one point, Vader says, "You need to give me proof that these Grisks are actually a threat."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, why are you convinced that they're a threat to the Empire? I don't believe you. I think you're just looking out for your people. And so Thrawn's like, "I'll get you your proof. Don't worry." And we've read Thrawn. We know that when he promises something and he delivers, it's just like, "Oh man,
Of
I didn't
course.
even think of it." Brilliant. So genius.
Right.
Well, his whole thing that he shows Vader is the gravity well tech.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, "Look, it contains cortosis, the stuff that the Jedi Anakin Skywalker encountered on Mokivja." And it's like, yeah, we've already encountered the gravity well.
Yeah.
We not only did we encounter the gravity well, you beat the gravity well in like the middle of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the
big
threat.
tie-in.
Oh, they've got cortosis, and they're using gravity wells to push moon rocks into the hyperlanes. You already told us that. You told us that. That was the big thing. Vader would have been like, "And?"
Right. This is what you brought
This
me
is
all
why
around.
I had to rescue your people.
This is why you made my burnt skin sweat. That hurts.
It hurts.
It hurts, okay? Everything hurts. I'm angry all the time.
All the time. Oh, man.
But
so
no, with the Grisks.
I don't feel like the Grisks are a threat. At the end of this book, I'm like, they don't matter.
Right, because Thrawn basically says, my alliances are with the Empire, but of course we know it's with the Chiss as well. But then he kind of turns the Grisks against the Chiss, which makes me think, because Thrawn always has an out, that they're already planning for said attack from the Grisks. The Chiss. I don't think he would just do that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to give up something that he really is going to lose.
So
it's not a real gesture of it's a fake one.
What about the epilogue being like people saying, "Oh my gosh, here come the Grisks and all this type of stuff, and we don't know what's going on." And then Edson Vanto enters the Chiss briefing room and says, "Actually, Thrawn's plan is going exactly like he explained to me before he sent me here." Like
wow.
that, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
that could help. Yeah.
right, like the Chiss are freaking out, but he's like, "Nope. Here's the plan that Thrawn laid out for us. We're all going to be fine." And then that's a tie-in or something.
I had so much faith in this book because I wanted more Chiss because they're a very, very fascinating race and just this like very cold, very calculated. And now that we found out that they have Force sensitives, but it was hinted at. That was a big reveal we didn't really talk about because it wasn't that interesting because they didn't hold on to it for very long. But Thrawn hinted that he was a Skywalker. How ironic, a couple of Skywalkers.
I feel like the big reveal too, it could have been creepier.
Yes,
like they're forcing these kids to move their ships, but when they save them, they're just in a holding bay.
Well, it's because they're second-class citizens.
Right.
He openly says that, like, yes, they know they're mostly volunteers, like they're children.
Right. Yeah.
And Vader, I like that he scoffs and he's like, even the Jedi don't treat their slaves like this, and he considers the Jedi's Padawans slaves. He considers them because they're taken.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jedi have very, very amorphous rules, questionable rules. So it was nice to see inside that,
but not much more Chiss.
But no, we didn't get much more about the Chiss. I wanted, there's a general that's mentioned, Alila or something like that, Alenia, some A name, and she doesn't speak. We don't speak to her.
Well, I'll put it this way: Edson Vanto was my favorite part of the first book.
Was he?
I loved seeing the world through his eyes, and I loved his slow climb through the ranks, and you really wanted him to succeed.
Yeah.
And Thrawn really wanted him to succeed too, and just all that, like, so having him.
But he was also so humble because he wouldn't bring it up.
Because
Thrawn, he saw how Thrawn operated.
Right.
He didn't care about the actual like accolades. He just cared about the accomplishment.
Yeah.
He's like, the job was done in the best way possible, and I learned this. And he's like, and that's how Vanto felt. He's just like, well, I'm doing this good work.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
And slowly, Vanto got more and more better.
Yes, more and more better. He got better and better.
It got better and better at the same thing that Thrawn was good at.
Yes,
at
tactician, warfare.
Yeah. And you were proud of him.
Yes, exactly.
There's not much character development in this book, I feel.
No, I don't think so at all. Well, Anakin starts and ends exactly where he was. Padme has a little bit of an arc in that. No, she doesn't have an arc. We just see inside her opinion of her husband.
I would say she has an arc because she went to that planet in this is how I felt. She went to that planet to save someone she knew, and in the process has left all this damage behind her.
Right. You're
and
right.
now she understands
She's ashamed of
that she carries so much weight and she needs to check herself more.
You're right. She had trouble.
That might be why we like the Padme thing so much, because it had an arc.
Well, at the end, I did sympathize with her just repeating in her mind collateral damage.
Yeah.
Collateral damage. It was like she was ashamed at her own causing this collateral
something
damage.
that she scoffs at with other people, that they just say, it's just collateral damage and stuff that she says that's unacceptable. These are people and all this type of stuff that she's probably said in board meetings or whatever else. And now she's there looking at basically what she caused.
Her and two other men caused this destruction for this entire planet of people.
With somebody there and then watching their planet burn. And who helped her out of the kindness of his heart, and now she's just like collateral damage, and that's why I think Padme's story is probably the best in the book.
Not enough. weight given to the return to Mokivja, which I'm mad that you have to pronounce the J. I was reading, so I thought it was Mokiv, and I was like, "How very clever to put a silent J at the end." And then I heard part of the audiobook because I listened to it for the end, and Mokivja, and I was like, "That is not acceptable." Anyway, Mokivja was basically destroyed even further by the Grix's occupation and usurpation, I guess.
Yeah.
So are all the people there just decimated? So Lebjow was literally the last of his people. Of his planet?
Yeah.
That is messed up. Not enough weight. Not nearly enough weight is given to that and that character. And when it was revealed to me later when I read an interview with Timothy Zahn that he is Nodlia, the bartender from the current timeline, and they're like, well, it's interesting to go back and read his how he spoke to them. I was like, that was so long ago.
Yeah.
That was such a long time ago in time and book, and just like there's so many names here.
And the fact that
he's not Keemond, I don't know what he is.
The fact that he had a different name, and then he was basically like, "Oh, you guys again," like how he spoke to them. It made me just go, "Oh, he knows them." And then I moved on with the book.
It was just confusing.
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I guess he's seen Thrawn before? Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a big pullback. But no, with the Grisks, they talked about this, and this is a scary thing for me. They talked about this armor they were making for the CIS, for these battle droids and everything.
Made of cortosis.
Right, which is basically impenetrable.
Yep. It shuts down lightsabers.
What is something about a group from the Outer Rim who is impenetrable?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yu Zhang Vong, man.
You use Vong, you can't use lightsabers on them because their armor is impenetrable. Absolutely. What is the deal?
They're giant too. The Grisks are big.
They're hulking.
With the
Yu
Zhang
Vong, because they almost stood 2 meters tall, which is like almost 8 feet tall.
I will give this though. I liked the Grisk in this because it makes me want to know more about them, and they don't fly living ships. Hoa, you guys got me. If that's the direction and the pool you're gonna do with, like, this is the Yu Zhang Vong, but they're called the Grisks, and it's easier to say because these are gonna be in movies or whatever it is. You know what I mean? This is them. I'm like, okay, that's fine. What planet did they come from? Is the planet living? No? Okay. Whew. Oh.
Does it have a mind of its own?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Of course, we're huge fans of Yu Zhang Vong, but I just wanted to mention, because I will definitely forget, the Twin Suns Foundation.
Yes.
We did an interview with them, the same episode you can listen to our discussion with the Beyond the Outer Rim. We did an interview with them, and they are a nonprofit organization who takes in Star Wars books and then gives it to people in need, whether it's children, hospitals, other places that want to
books.
Yeah, right. Other places that want to improve literacy, and what a great way to do it by something that kids love, Star Wars, if they want to read about more. So you can go to their website in order to send books their way. And Calhoun, this book that's on our set right now that's keeps giving us trouble as it slips and falls, isn't that kind of destined for the Twin Suns Foundation?
It will be. What was it? They were primarily taking Legends books at first, but they obviously accept any books, Star Wars or not. But Star Wars books are encouraged just because of the nature of their organization. But this may be destined for the Twin Suns Foundation. Their website, by the way, is twin-suns.net.
And they were just so nice to talk to. You could tell they were really passionate about this, and they got a bunch of books at Chicago, and they donated it to a local charity in need.
Almost 1,100 books were donated at Star Wars Celebration
in Chicago. So they came, they saw, they benefited the community, and then they got out. So if you have Thrawn Alliances or any other Star Wars books, be sure to go to twin-sunsfoundation.net. Find an address that you can send it to. They have different locations that you can send it to, closer, farther, whatever. and go ahead and send some books their way, because we can sit here and talk about this book, and we're lucky enough to have the funds to read it or listen to it or whatever. Not many people do, and that's a big part, like what we do to try and make Star Wars more inclusive, of course, covering it and everything. But you can't get more inclusive than going straight to the source and saying, here is this, read it. And someone looks at Vader and this blue guy with red eyes on this cover, and you're going, as a kid, what is this? I know this guy, but I don't know this guy. And it's like, oh, I've seen that Clone Wars show. And, that's huge. And I just can't think of a better way to kind of wrap this in with a review that we were slightly negative about.
Yeah, a little
so
negative.
Let's move towards something that's more positive.
Hey, the Twin Suns Foundation right now is having a donation. They're having a fund drive for Valley of the Suns, the new book drive for 2019. So their 2019 drive is ongoing. They're at $325 of their $1,200 goal. So donate to them, donate books. They have locations all over the United States.
But yeah, so at the end of the day, you give it Thrawn Alliances a D, maybe a C+,
I like that we both
or a C minus.
Or a C minus, yeah. I like that we both chose different ways.
Once again, talking about inclusive, making Star Wars inclusive. You might do numbers, you might do letters.
Yeah.
We just want to give it to you.
Sure.
I have a pie chart that if for anybody else. And then I give it a 5. Talking about it now, I give it a 5.5.
Yeah.
Because there's parts in there that make me go like, oh, that is kind of cool.
That was fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just a fun moment in a book that was supposed to be a book.
It would have made a really great 2-part episode in Clone Wars.
That's what I was about to
That
say.
would
Like,
have
the two of these kind of fun back and forth.
A great, 2 episodes in Rebels, 2 episodes in Clone Wars, and those would be amazing.
That would have been one hell of an undertaking and a beautiful thing if they had accomplished.
Yeah.
Like if they had done some sort of Thrawn Clone Wars special and then tied it into wow. Well, don't do that. But I mean, it's a missed opportunity. But that,
wow, guys. Disney Plus, here we come with that idea.
Sure, just 4 episodes, guys.
But yeah, so the Grisks is the new Yu Zhang Vong. That's okay. Vader is too forgiving.
Yeah.
Thrawn is he's still Thrawn.
He's still Thrawn.
And I liked
Still
him.
good old Thrawn.
And Padme is straight killing it, killing the game.
Straight boss.
Yeah, she's cool. But yeah, so wrapping up the show. Go to twin-sunsfoundation.net.
Follow us on all the social medias and watch us on YouTube, on Facebook. Listen to us on any podcast app you like. And also, you could probably go to, I think our Libsyn page is chattersquadron.libsyn.com or something like that.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of nice because it's got a little search bar there. So anytime we mention, go listen to this episode, you can just use the search bar and usually they pop up. Hopefully.
Random thought. Listen to one of the earliest episodes, Light versus Dark.
Oh, that's a fun one.
Where our old friend Johnny and I have a debate. Which one is better? And I wore this shirt on that episode.
You wore that shirt?
Yes, I did.
It's your George Lucas shirt.
Oh, and George Lucas is telling everybody to have a good rest of the week. And, of course, I hope you had a good May the 4th. You bought some little laser swords. And I'm just going to go do some chin-ups. Trying to cut some pounds here.
Off that chin?
Maybe off the chin, since I've been retired.
Sure. Yeah.
Just a little
tough life.
Little tough. I've made little movies.
Yep.
For myself and my family.
Good. I'm glad.
No laser swords.
No.
Believe it or not.
Good. Just wine.
Just wine. Oh, Skywalker wine. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
Go to skywalkerwine.com. Get yourself some wine. All right.
Thanks, George. Thanks for dropping by.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. I have a lot of time.
You see.
All right, everybody. Thank you, George. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
We're doomed.